welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 102, coming to you from the Pine Room Studios, downtown Wheeling here on our last full week of September. Hard to imagine we'll be in October next week. Just flies by as the football season starts. It's already, well, I don't want to say a third of the way over, but for college it almost is, and for pros it won't be long. So we continue to push on here during a busy stretch here for the Pine Room and for people in general. Just lots of sports, lots of activities, lots of things going on as summer comes to an end and we head into fall. It's officially fall, but it doesn't really feel like fall, so not yet anyway. Let's hope that is relief is on the way. We may have some tropical storm systems pumping through the area this week, so talk about that as well, and some of the games down in the southern part of the country could be affected, so we'll touch on that as well when we get to it. We got a fully loaded show for you today, so again, thanks for listening. Show number 102 coming to you here from the Pine Room Studios. The second portion of the program today will be broadcast on the Watchdog on Friday as we get ready for it'll be our final of our Football Friday shows before we go into the pregame. So look forward to that once again. So if you want to listen to us on the radio, you can flip over there. It'll be on around 5 o'clock Eastern time this evening or Friday night, however you want to look at it, whenever you're listening to our podcast. So again, welcome into Bettor's Last Stand, the sports betting show under the Pine Room Studios umbrella, and we have a loaded week of action for you. So don't forget about it. High school football, all three of our home teams that we are covering for the Watchdog are back home this week, so we're excited about that. Wheeling Park comes home to entertain Steubenville, while Wheeling Central will host Perry Academy, and John Marshall hosts Parkersburg South. You can listen to all those games at watchdognetwork.com. So we will have a comprehensive breakdown on Friday at our Football Friday show live from Gumby's, and it was as well as Bear and Bob. They do a great job, 12 to 2. That's the good old boys on sports. They'll talk plenty of high school. Shane Stack on there quite a bit as well. So those guys very informative. And then you got us for 3 hours. Then it's Bettor's Last Stand. This show right here, the second hour or the middle hour sometimes. Again, Sam out today, so we will be doing 2 parts instead of 3. But that second part, the football concentrated part of Bettor's Last Stand, will be on the Watchdog Network. So flip on over there if you missed any of it. You can listen again if you choose. And then we'll take you into the pregame show for Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central, and John Marshall. All right, let's get into the action here. We weren't nearly as good as we were last week, recapping last week's action. 2 weeks ago, I guess last week on the show, 2 weeks ago as far as the dates concern, we were up about 48 units. Not so good this week. We were up about 3 plus 385, so about, depending on how you're looking at it, $385 or $3.85, $38.50, whatever it is, whatever your unit measure is. We were up just under 4 units, so above even, so we can't complain too much about that, but we weren't very good. EPL, we were dynamite 2 weeks ago, not so good last week, 1-5-1, hideous losses in the EPL. AFL 4-3, CFL 2-1. College football, we were 11-8 with our best bet, Georgia Tech. Looked like it was going to be a great one, and then a blocked field goal run back for a touchdown late to cover, and that one stuck right in our ear hole there against Louisville. So I think we still probably had the right side in that game. I thought Georgia Tech had enough chances to win that game. Louisville, very, very good. We'll talk about them later in the program. But our best bets in college now, 1-3. 7-5 in the NFL. Best bet with the Redskins, an outright winner again. Twice we've had our best bets come compliments of the lowly Cincinnati Bengals, who dropped to 0-3. And you could go back through the shows if you're new to listening to us. I don't like to gloat too often, but when it comes to the Bengals, I'll do a little bit of gloating, because I was one of the only people anywhere. Like, I saw NFL Network the other day. They had like 12 analysts, which, first of all, you don't need 12 analysts. And I think all 12 of them picked Cincinnati. I don't understand what people watch. Like, I couldn't understand the line, the 7.5. I didn't understand them giving 8 to New England in week 1. This team's just not very good. Now, they did cover against the Chiefs, but that's because the Chiefs are a team that brings out the best of the Bengals. And the Chiefs have not played very well, yet they're 3-0. But the Bengals just aren't good. If you watch these games, they have so many deficiencies. And Jamar Chase, by far, is the best player on that team. It's really not even debatable. And Joe Burrow just continues to fall further and further into the abyss of the list of quarterbacks in the NFL. He's just not an elite quarterback, and I don't really care what anybody else thinks about that, because my prognostication has proven out to be pretty valid so far. Now, can he turn it around? Maybe. Will he grow and change? I doubt it. He's stubborn, he's cocky, and he's just not very good. But anyway, got to watch the games to know that. As much as I hate watching these things, if you watch them, you'll see what I mean. The Bengals, again, a big favorite this week on the road. I can't understand. It's hard to grasp, but we'll talk about that in the football portion of the program. Nonetheless, our best bet cashes with the Redskins on Monday night. Mercedes double top 6. That one goes good for us in F1. We had Elliott and Ryan Blaney in the top 10s at Bristol, a race that was dominated by Kyle Larson. AFL outrights, we still got Brisbane alive at 7-1. We cashed them to make the final at like plus 320. Man, tough one last week. Port Adelaide gets smoked pretty good, so we didn't get them through. If we'd have got them through, we'd have been sitting really, really pretty right now. But we got the Brisbane Lions. We'll talk about that game extensively here coming up in the football portion of the program. NHL begins late next week, early the following week. So I'll go through some of my favorite future bets and things that I like, division winners, those kinds of things, anything that we'll do that on next week's show. So stay tuned for that. If you're a hockey fan, you'll be excited to talk hockey. I know I am. It's going to be a nice break from this football stuff, this American football. It just doesn't sit right with me. The behavior of the people just drives me insane. Just the greed. It's just all greed. It's no purity left in it, and that's why I love games like the AFL and soccer, English, British football, world football, European football, whatever you want to call it. It's just so much better. Racing, all this great stuff. Hockey will then join the ranks of the sports that I can actually tolerate here coming up here in just a couple days with the season beginning on October the 8th. So very excited to talk hockey. I know I'm pretty high on the Buffalo Sabres. They're going to be a team who that I was on a little bit last year. Lindy Ruff returns to them. And they're coming out on a mission already. They're playing most of their main guys already in the preseason, and they are rolling through. So if you're looking at the Sabres at a plus price in a preseason game, you might want to jump on them, because they're one of the few teams that's playing their full complement of players for the entire game, and it's showing. They'll be ready to go early in the season. All right, baseball, we're down to just a week left in the season. Things end on Sunday. Half a series left with one team, maybe one full series left by the time you listen to this. It's really getting interesting. American League wild card down to a handful of teams. You got the Royals, who just can't win a game right now. You got the Twins, who are faltering miserably, another loss to the Marlins. Got the Red Sox, who are trying, but that little rut they went through about 2 weeks ago has done them in. Same with Seattle. Seattle went on a mini rut, and they're struggling now, but they've picked it back up. They're playing a game right now. They're leading, I believe they're leading 1-0. But it's going to come down to the end. So you're looking at the Royals, Twins, Red Sox, and Mariners for the last spot in the American League wild card. The Orioles clinched their spot last night, and they are in. But still a lot to be decided. Some divisions and some top overall seeds in the National League now. The Braves and the Mets. Will they be able to avoid this storm that's going to be sweeping through up the Gulf Coast and the Florida Panhandle, and then coming up through Mississippi, Alabama, up into Ohio and our area? So we'll see what happens. Can they get these games in? The Braves win last night. The Mets kind of reeling right now, but they're fighting it out for that last spot, and all of a sudden now the Diamondbacks have come back to the pack. Some blown leads recently, and they could be safely in, but now they're teetering on the brink of disaster. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Braves and the Mets could both make it at the expense of the Diamondbacks. Padres in safely. They are the team to beat in the National League right now, if you ask me. To go along with the Astros in the American League, I think are the two most dangerous teams if you are going to bet today. And I know that people could say, you said that the Orioles would win the division against the Yankees. Yes, I did say that I was wrong about that. But one thing I'm very sure of is that the Orioles are better than the Yankees actually as a team. Now, the Yankees have navigated the bad part of their schedule very well in recent weeks, and they have pulled away, and they will win the division. But they're going to get a bye. They're probably not going to win their first series. The Orioles beat them again last night. They're owning the season series against the Yankees, and they come out and they play with a different level of intensity against the Yankees, which I wish they would do against some other teams too. But there is no fear in me that the Yankees are winning anything in the American League. I just don't see them as being a valid contender. And I know people will say, oh, you're crazy. Look at their record. Their record means absolutely nothing. It's, can you perform in the playoffs? We see it every year. The Dodgers bounced early last year. The Orioles had the best record in baseball, bounced last year in the first round. So just enough with the season records. They don't mean anything. It's, can you make plays in the playoffs? Can you pitch under pressure? Can you hit under pressure? And we know the teams that can. That's the Astros. That's, let's see, in the National League, I don't know. Then maybe the Dodgers, iffy. Padres seem like they feed off of it a little bit. We know Atlanta, when they're healthy, can, but they're beat up even more now. They just lost Austin Riley for the year now. Another guy with a lot of experience in the playoffs. So I don't know if Atlanta is going to be able to do it this year, but you got teams like that, Houston, and to a degree, the Dodgers, to an extent now with the roster that they have, the Braves, Phillies a little bit. They've had guys that have performed pretty well in the postseason, so they would be a team. Still think if Seattle was able to get in, they're going to be a dangerous out because they got Arozarena, and he is a guy that feeds off pressure, and if he is in a big spot, he will come through, and he's delivered time and time again, and he will continue to deliver. Yankees don't have that. They have no players. You saw Juan Soto last year. He did nothing in the playoffs. He's done nothing. Well, I can't say that he's never done anything because he did play pretty well as a young person when he was on the Nationals. But with the pressure on him now, I think he'll outperform Judge, but I'm just not certain that two guys can carry you in a playoff postseason when you're going to put them on base a lot of the time, because that's what you're going to have to do if you're the opposing manager. You're just going to have to pitch around these guys. You can't let them beat you. You got to let the other garbage from the Yankees take a shot, and chances are they won't come through. WNBA playoffs, we're just about to finish up round 1 right now. We'll see. By the time you listen to this, Caitlin Clark will either be forcing a Game 3 or she'll be out of the playoffs, and the television ratings will plummet. If it's in the WNBA's best interest to pull an old David Stern here and call the referees tonight and say, hey, any tight calls got to go the Fever's way tonight. We need this to go Game 3. But they won't do that because they hate Caitlin Clark. Their own damn commissioner hates her. That's like David Stern hating Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. It's really, really stupid for business. So let's hope for the Fever that they can participate and continue to progress. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. So far, the top seeds have rolled, and it looks like the Las Vegas Aces will be the team to beat as expected. They're the 4th seed because they just dicked around all summer long. But now they're taking it serious, and they are going to be very, very tough to beat. So my money will be on the Aces. Golf back this week, at least a golf tournament that I actually care about. It is the President's Cup. It will be coming from the Royal Montreal Golf Club in Quebec, Canada. Starts up tomorrow. I'll put these up on Bettor's Last Stand, the X page, BLS_PRP. It kicks off last night or yesterday if you're watching on Friday. So I know this is a little bit late, but everybody is on USA, minus 255, and rightfully so. The USA's won 9 straight in this. The two teams tied in 2003. If you're not familiar with this is the United States versus the rest of the world, excluding Europe. The Ryder Cup, the United States versus Europe. This is the United States against the rest of the world. So this can be South America, the other 2 countries of North America, all of Asia, all of Africa, all of Antarctica, if they so choose. But you have players from Canada, you have players from Asia, the Koreans, the Australians, the Canadians, of course, is in Canada. So, it's easy to pick the United States here, but I'm not certain. I will be going a little contrarian on this. I know they won 9 straight. The last time that the world team even scratched out anything was a tie back in 2003. The USA won last year or 2 years ago pretty easily. USA minus 255 right now. The world plus 245. About $13 or $14 on the draw you can find. So they've only won 1 time the world since 1998. That's when I believe it might have started in 96, but they've only won it 1 time outright. But I tell you, I think this year they have an outside shot. Plus 245, I'll be taking a shot with them. And I tell you, even if you like the United States, if you're a patriotic person, if you are the person that says, you know what, even though I think the world might win, I'm not going along with him on that. I can't go against my country, which I respect. But instead of just playing at the money line minus 255 or plus 245 for the rest of the world, you can get the USA, and I think this will be pretty tight. So you could get the USA by a score of 16.5 to 13.5 at like 11-1, 16 to 14 at 11-1. USA wins 15.5 to 14.5 at 11-1. I would take a shot with those because even if you play like 3 different exact outcomes with the country that you're thinking is going to win or the group of countries, you can lock in a profit. If one of those hits, you get 11-1, you're gonna turn a profit. Even if you bet 3 units or bet a single unit on each one of them, even if you're betting 3 units, you're going to win back 11 times that on one of them, and then you offset the 2 that you lost, and you're still coming out ahead. So I recommend playing it that way if you're going to choose to bet the United States, especially at the minus price. I do think that the rest of the world has a shot in this. I think them winning 15 to 14.5, 15.5 to 14.5 could be good. 14-1 on that one, and then 16-14 internationals, 16-1. I'm taking a shot with both of those. I think this is a little bit tighter than you think. Some of the United States guys have not performed up to snuff in this tournament, and Xander Schauffele is excluded from that group. He's 6-3 in President's Cups. He will be the guy that I would choose to win the most points for the United States at about $5. So you're getting, when you got Scotty Scheffler on the team, he's going to take all the hype. But Scotty Scheffler has not played great in the Ryder Cups and the President's Cups. It's a different style of golf. Scotty Scheffler eats up the bad courses better than anybody else, and I'm not taking anything away from the guy. But that's what he does. And these courses aren't like that. And you're having to match wits with the guy you're playing against. So it can be a little bit trickier. And you're doing alternate shot, too, which messes with some guys' rhythm. Scotty Scheffler, 0-3-1 in President's Cups so far in his young career. So I won't be taking a shot with him. Some of the other notable United States guys, I like Tony Finau. I think he could be pretty good. He's 3-2-3. He's 24-1 to be the top point getter. He is 15-1 to be the top United States point getter. Finau's got some experience in it. He's played Ryder Cups. He's played President's Cups. He's a pretty good guy. He's a very good match guy with a teammate. So no matter who he's with, he always seems to pull his weight. He seems to adapt very well to that. So that's why I like Finau. He'll get a lot of run out here. Same as Xander Schauffele. When you're trying to bet point totals in these, you want guys who are going to be out every single match, not guys who are going to sit. And they're not sitting Xander Schauffele, I can tell you that, and I highly doubt they'll sit Finau very often. Obviously, Scheffler will play every time. Unless he goes into one of those situations where he goes like 0-4 to start out, then maybe you rest him till the singles. That can't happen. So taking a look at some other guys, you have a lot of new players here. Keegan Bradley, 2-2-1 all time. Russell Henley has never played in this. For the United States, Wyndham Clark has never played in this. Colin Morikawa 2-1. He'll probably be solid. Max Homa has had a terrible year, but he is 4-0 all time in President's Cup matches. So kind of a guy that maybe feeds off the crowd. Sam Burns has been very poor, 0-3-2 all time in the President's Cup. Scheffler, as I said, 0-3-1. Patrick Cantley, another guy. He could be a dark horse guy to get the top point getter for the United States. You can get him around 6-1 there. Top overall point getter, he's around 9-1. For the international team, Minwoo Lee, he's never played. Matsuyama, 7-10-5. Lots of experience for him. 17-1 to be the outright point getter. I like Matsuyama to lead them in points. And about 6.5, 7-1. Siwoo Kim, 4-3 for the veteran all time. Tom Kim, 2-3. Guy that really, really steps his game up when the pressure's on the line. So remember that one. Taylor Pendrith, 0-4. Nothing to speak of for the Canadian. Brian Harman for the United States is a guy who I like. I'll get to that bet that I like with Brian Harman in a moment. Ben On, 1-2-2 all time. He could be dangerous, though. He's had a very, very good year. Russell Henley, as I said, his debut. Christian Bezuidenhout, 1-0-1. He only played in 2 matches the last time. Mackenzie Hughes of Canada, first appearance for him. Adam Scott, the old veteran, 18-25-6. Tons of experience with him. Jason Day, 5-11-4 from the international. Corey Connors, 0-4. I'll be staying away from him. Sahith Theegala for the United States is the first-time debutant. Ben On, I think, top international point getter, 12-1, possibly, but I like Matsuyama on that side of things. Schauffele and Finau I like for the United States. And then talking about some of the newcomers, the top American rookie, I think Brian Harman's got a really good shot because he putts really, really well, and the short game could be good here. Russell Henley, 6-1. Theegala around 3. Wyndham Clark, the favorite, at plus 135. Wyndham Clark's had a terrible year. I would not bet Wyndham Clark. I don't even know why Wyndham Clark's on the team. I'll go Brian Harman here, plus 250. Top international rookie, it will be Minwoo Lee at plus 110 over Mackenzie Hughes, who's minus 125 or minus 150 because he's Canadian. Minwoo Lee, the much better player, no question about it. And then the top wild card guys who were captain's picks. Tony Finau to be the top wild card point getter at 12-1, I think makes a little bit of sense. And I wouldn't talk people off of Brian Harman at 7-1. I'll, again, have those picks at BLS_PRP. You can play that stuff into the weekend as well. They'll adjust the stuff, and then you can add on your bets. You'll still be able to bet the score outcome and everything on Friday and Saturday. But good to have the President's Cup, something that's actually somewhat entertaining from a golf standpoint this time of year. Let's go to some racing action. Again, our man Sam out of action. Can't wait for him to get back with us. I know he's really, really tied up with work stuff, so we wish him the best. Can't wait to talk to him soon. Lando Norris dominates in Singapore last week. He was spectacular, and rightfully so. McLaren just continues to have the best setups right now. 62 laps led for Lando Norris. That was every lap there was. Max Verstappen finishes second. Verstappen tried to get a good run on him on the first lap of the race, but he could not do it. He could not overtake Lando, and he never would catch up the rest of the time. Frank Morris. No, Lando Norris wins by almost 21 seconds. So an impressive run by him. Oscar Piastri was third for McLaren. So two in the top three for McLaren. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton rounding out the top five. Actually, George Russell fourth, Hamilton sixth, and Charles Leclerc was fifth for Ferrari, with Carlos Sainz coming in seventh for Ferrari. So Ferrari's run solid. Good run by Mercedes. We cashed that bet, double top six with Mercedes. Fernando Alonso was the top guy outside of the four big teams. He wins that one for Aston Martin. And again, another disappointing performance by Sergio Perez, who finishes 10th. The boys are off this week before they head to the United States Grand Prix here in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks. It's a long journey coming from Asia all the way out to Austin, Texas, where they'll be at Circuit of the Americas here in just 2 weeks. So we'll talk plenty about that. Look forward to the boys getting out on the Circuit of America track here in the United States for the United States Grand Prix in a couple of weeks. NASCAR-wise, another dominating performance. Both races this week dominated in one form or another. It was Kyle Larson doing the dominating this week on the NASCAR circuit at Bristol. And I've been to some races like this where a guy just dominates it and his car is so locked in that there's nothing that anybody's going to be able to do. So you just got to hope for something to go wrong. And nothing went wrong. Larson led 462 of the 500 laps, with Alex Bowman leading 34, Tyler Reddick leading, I believe, 3, and Bubba Wallace, I think, led 1 lap. So it was a absolutely start to finish, pillar to post, wire to wire performance by Kyle Larson. He dominates and sends a few guys home packing for the playoffs, as you now will see that Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex, Brad Keselowski, and Harrison Burton all removed from playoff competition. Chase Elliott ran second last week. He's running pretty strong. Denny Hamlin was fourth. Bubba Wallace third. Chris Bell rounding out the top 5. Ryan Blaney, who we had in there. Alex Bowman with another good run for him, rounding out the top 10. I didn't get to see a whole lot of this race, but whatever part I did see it was Larson, and everybody else was fighting out for second. Now we shift over to Kansas, another track where Larson has dominated. Larson won the race back in the spring at Kansas. That was the, I believe that one's called the Advent Health 400. But this week we have the Hollywood Casinos 400 at Kansas Motor Speedway. And, this is a track that originally I didn't care for, but as time has went on and these new cars have come to fruition, it's actually kind of entertaining. There's been some good races here and some some balance between the Toyotas, between the Chevys. Ford, I don't think, has gotten in the winner's circle for a while here, but Larson won last time out. As I said, in the spring he led 63 laps. Chris Buescher was second, Chase Elliott was third, and then the two Toyotas, actually 3 JGR Toyotas of Truex, Hamlin, and Bell. Those are going to be some of the guys you're going to hear me talk about here momentarily. Tyler Reddick won this race, the fall race, last year in a Toyota, with Denny Hamlin running second. But the Toyotas, the Toyota of Chris Bell, Denny Hamlin plus 425, Larson the favorite at plus 335, Reddick at plus 670, somewhere in that range. They're going to be tough to beat, no doubt about it. But I thought some guys that were interesting prices. I thought Chris Bell drifting up to about 10-1 was worth a play here. And then the Hendrick Motorsports contingent of Chase Elliott at 12-1, William Byron at around 12-1, and Alex Bowman, who's been running well. He's around 30-1. So I think that if you want to take a shot with a Chevy, I think it'll probably be one of those Hendrick cars. If you're looking at a Ford, Brad Keselowski's out of the playoffs now, but that doesn't mean he's not motivated. He's ran well here in the past. His teammate, Chris Buescher, ran a strong second here earlier this year. And then you got Joey Logano at around 23-1. Keselowski around 21-1. Logano 23-1. Logano's still in the points hunt. So very important for him. Chris Buescher, 16. He's still alive in the playoffs as well. So those are some guys that I'm looking at here. Denny Hamlin's going to be really strong. Martin Truex, keep hoping that he would win one more race. He's got 2 wins here all time. Hamlin's got 4. Keselowski's got 2. Logano's got 3. Larson's got 2. Elliott's got 1. But my top pick in this race is going to be Joey Logano, followed by Chris Bell. And then Elliott and Byron, I think, follow right in there behind in the longer shot guys. Bowman at 30-1. Buescher at 17. Keselowski at 20-1 as we head to Kansas. Logano 12-1 to win the championship. Elliott 10-1. I think both of those make a little sense. And William Byron at 8-1. Last year we banged it out with Ryan Blaney. We got him at a great price, like 14-1. I want to say it might have been after the next cut. So don't foil yourself by betting these too early. You can wait maybe another round of cuts, as I think they'll have 2 more or 3 more races before they cut down guys. So you can still get Ryan Blaney. I got Ryan Blaney at a really good price. I think maybe when there was just 4 guys left. So we'll be looking to see if we can find a diamond in the rough there, but I think Joey Logano cannot be ignored, and his price is way, way too high this week at the Hollywood Casino, $400 at Kansas Motor Speedway. All right, we're going to take a break here on Bettor's Last Stand, the first portion of the program. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk all things football, from European football, known as soccer, to CFL, to Aussie rules, to the NFL, to college football week 5. Football, football, football. This is your place for football. It is Bettor's Last Stand, show 102 from the Watchdog Pine Room Studio in downtown Wheeling. We will return momentarily with a giant card of football action. Don't go anywhere.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
Recapping last week, we were up just under 4 units. Last week, we were up over 47, I believe it was. Was a really good week for us. This one not as good, but still a positive ROI, so plus 385 to be exact. On the week, Premier League, we were not good. 1-5-1, AFL 4-3, CFL 2-1, college football, we were 11-8. NFL, we were 7-5. Our best bet did go with the Redskins. They get us to 3-0 in our best bet so far. Formula One, we had Mercedes, a double top 6. Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, top 10s in NASCAR. AFL outrights, as I said, we were 4-3 last week, but in the outright betting, we have Brisbane alive, and we cashed Brisbane to make the final. So that's actually coming up late tonight if you're listening to this on Friday. If you're on the Watchdog, you're definitely listening to this on Friday. NHL starts next week, so we'll talk about hockey. Some of the future bets that I like there going to be pretty high on the Sabres, I think, right now, and several other teams. So we'll go over those. Comprehensive rundown of all the NHL stuff coming up for you on next week's episode of Bettor's Last Stand. So again, welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, episode 102. Matt here with you, coming to you from the Pine Room Watchdog Studio in downtown Wheeling, getting you ready for the conclusion of your Football Fridays, the pregame show, and then 3 wonderful games tonight on WatchdogNetwork.com. Thanks to Bear and Bob for kicking it off today with the good old boys on sports from 12 to 2. Then we were out at Gumby's from 2 to 5 with our Football Fridays presented by Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Clubs. And as you heard, it will be Bettor's Last Stand here that you're listening to, and then it's the pregame show and then our games of the night. We'll have the Semper Fi Paving halftime show coming your way as well. So lots to talk about here. Of course, West Virginia off this week, so we won't be talking about their game. They come from behind and beat Kansas. They wish they beat Pitt. They blew it against Pitt. They won against Kansas. Come back, win there after a lightning delay. But WVU off this week. This is the home of WVU football, though, so Keep it tuned to the Watchdog for the Mountaineers in the coming weeks. Browns at Raiders, 4 o'clock on Sunday. The Browns off a terrible defeat at the hands of the Giants. We'll talk about that when we go over the NFL card. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into the action, and we're going to talk about the English Premier League first. We'll I'm sorry. We're gonna call an audible there. We're gonna go through some things that went on in the industry last week. That's where we like to start, and then we'll get into our plays for this week. Bad beats. You can find a million of these. Baseball, football. I chose to make it all football this week, but you can find them everywhere. At all levels of sport, they're out there. Tennis, soccer, they're everywhere. So condolences on any bad beats that you may have suffered last week. Tennessee State plus 6.5. They're driving with a minute 15 to go. They're down 3 points. Pick 6 by Tennessee Tech, 24-14 final. Yikes. Southern Utah, Idaho State under 59.5. Score is 31-21 with under 2 minutes to go. Idaho State scores. And then on the very last snap of the game, Southern Utah throws a meaningless touchdown. Wasn't meaningless to those who bet, but it was meaningless in the outcome of the game. 38-28 the final there. And then Baylor. This was one where we had people throwing the tickets down on the counter thinking that they were winners the next day, turning them in and say, wait a minute, that won. Oh, no, sir. I'm sorry, it didn't. Well, I went to bed and they were winning the game. They were just, all they had to do was run the clock out. Well, they didn't do it. Baylor plus 2.5 versus Colorado. Baylor up 7 with 2:20 left. They miss a field goal, a short field goal, which leads to Colorado tying the game with no time left. And the Buffaloes win it in overtime, 38-31. They storm the field like they won the Super Bowl college football national championship and Wimbledon all in one. Just ridiculous. Industry news. Sportsbooks spent nearly $23 million in advertising on nationally televised NFL games last week, which is actually a decrease from the first 2 weeks of 15%. So I don't know. These new laws, maybe you're scaring them a little bit. They're rolling back their advertising, but I haven't noticed it yet. The commercials are everywhere. So we'll see what happens with the law that we talked about last week that could be coming into effect. We'll see how that turns out. Biggest NFL favorite each of the first 3 weeks have all lost outright. The Bengals, the Ravens, and the Bengals again. And we had both of the Bengals winners right here on Bettor's Last Stand, giving you the recommendation to play it with the points and outright. So we were very dubious of the Bengals as we were last year. Survivor pools in chaos because of that. Some of the pools down to one pool that I was in is down to 2 people. So lots of people suffering at the hands of the Cincinnati Bengals. But if you didn't play the Bengals in week 1 and you were fortunate, I don't know how you I don't feel sorry for you for putting money on them the other night against the Redskins. If you watch the games at all, you would realize that is not a safe play by any means. And I'm not saying that it's easy to pick Survivor picks because I suck at it. But when it comes to that, stay away from the Cincinnati. NFL dogs of 5.5 or greater this year. This is an astounding stat. 14-2 against the spread. 5-0. 5-0 in week 3. That is just ridiculous. So if you're catching 5.5 or more points as a dog, you're 14-2 on the season, that is, and 5-0 last week. NFL public sides now 17-30-1 after week 3, the second worst start for the public in the last 30 years. Obviously, that plays a big role in it when you got 14 outright dogs winning. The public is not going to be on those very often. Houston, Miami, and Tennessee all 0-3 against the spread heading into week number 4. Teams 3-0 to the under this season. Some interesting ones here. The Bears 3-0 to the under. The Chargers, the Dolphins, the Falcons, the Lions, the Giants, the Steelers, who we've been benefiting from. Actually, thanks for the kneel down last week, Tomlin. And then the Vikings, all 3-0 to the under so far this year. Trevor Lawrence now 0-8 straight up, 1-7 ATS his last 8 games. What a disastrous performance that was on Monday night. I don't know how Doug Peterson is still employed as of this recording. I cannot imagine that the owner of the Jaguars, who's a pretty he's a pretty serious dude. I don't know how he's tolerating this and is going to continue to pay Peterson. They looked completely ill-prepared on Monday and almost to a point where there's a lack of effort. Josh Allen, the new consensus MVP, 2-1, rightfully so. He's my pick. This guy's just been super. Anything you're asking of him, he's getting the job done. Just doing a great job mixing in all the different receivers and the new people to the Bills. Bills a hot team right now, but will they stay hot? That's the question. Week 3 lopsided ticket results here. Maybe not as bad as previous weeks, but it wasn't very good. 84% on the Raiders, loss. 82% on the Bucks minus the points, loss. 80% on the Chiefs minus the points. That was a win. They won by 4, I think. Laying 3.5, depending on what you got the number. Bills, easy win at 75%, so that was a good one. Saints minus 2.5, 70% on them, loss. Packers, 70% on them, plus 3. They did win outright. Lopsided ticket count for this week, though. 79% on the Cowboys, 79% on the Steelers, 74% on the Rams, 67% on the Vikings, 67% on the Eagles, 66 on the Saints, 66 on the Texans, 66 on the Bengals yet again. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with them? I don't understand it. The Bengals are 0-3. They've been outplayed in 2 of the 3 games beyond comprehension by teams that no one would have given a chance. I just don't understand. 65% on the Bills. That one I can get behind a little bit. And 65% on the Lions. College-wise, how about this? We called this 2 years ago. Bettor's Last Stand on the Pine Room podcast, on the radio show on the Watchdog. This NIL thing was going to lead to problems, and it's leading to problems right now. UNLV, who's 3-0 on the season, their quarterback now in a dispute with the administration over $100,000 that he was guaranteed to go play quarterback there. Well, he's quitting now. He's saying he's not burning a year eligibility. They promised him money they haven't paid. The school says, no, we didn't. They're 3-0. He's abandoning ship. I don't know who to blame here. I get it. If the kid was promised this, I don't know why he didn't get it in writing, but the school's doing wrong here. It's like they were going to try it out, and then, well, they're 3-0. We're not going to pay you now. Well, I don't think that's right. But if the kid is just trying to get more money than was previously agreed upon, then it's his fault, and I don't like that. So I don't know. There's still information coming out here, whether it's the kid who's trying to get a raise or he's not been given anything to begin with, which could be on the school. So either way, you're screwing up a really good start to your season if you're UNLV. But who could have foreseen this, huh? The wonderful scholars at the NCAA and higher education. It's no wonder that our world is so messed up with these people leading America and teaching America's youth. It's disgusting. I think you think long and hard about where you send your kids as far as a university goes in the United States these days. There's probably only about 5 that are worth even wasting your money on, that you would actually get a fair education, that your kid would actually learn anything and be taught by respectful humans, because these administrations and the NCAA is just so corrupt. The NCAA, more corrupt than the Sicilian mob. Actually, Sicilian mob lived by a better code and had more standards. No question about it. So, NCAA disgrace. Always have been, always will be. Alabama underdog for the first time at home since 2007. Oh, my Lord. Slight underdog right now. We'll see if they close a dog against Georgia. Hopefully, weather stays clear of that game. It could be a monsoon down there for that exciting game. Week 4, lopsided action in college football. 94% on Ole Miss. That one was good. 93% on Texas. That one was good. 89% on Army. That one was good. So you started out 3-0. Ohio State, 88% minus the 40 loss. 87% on Notre Dame minus the 28 loss. 16.5 Miami was laying there. 87% of tickets on them. That one was a winner. Tennessee at 86% minus 7. A lowly performance by Oklahoma. 83% on Indiana minus 28.5. That one was good. 84% on USC minus 5.5. No go. They lose outright at the Big House. Week 5 lopsided action in college. Again, this is ticket count. So this is where the public is on right now. This is the public side, the dummy money, so to speak. This is what people are betting because they bet what they think is going to be easy money. These teams land points. No public. Joe Blow in the public doesn't like betting underdogs because in his mind, the favorite is the better team. The favorite always wins, but it just doesn't ever work like that. But nonetheless, we proceed on Oklahoma minus 1.5, 93% on the ticket count for them right now. 91% of all tickets on Iowa State minus 13.5, 90% of tickets on Michigan minus 9. 89% on JMU minus 20.5, 88% on Illinois plus 18. That's interesting. Last week, nobody liked Illinois when they were a dog. 87 or a dog at dog on the road, actually. Yeah. 87% Miami minus 19.5, 87% Nebraska minus 10, 85% Navy minus 3.5, 79% on Colorado plus 14.5. I don't get the Colorado. Colorado's the Cincinnati Bengals of college football. Illinois last week, we couldn't get anybody to get on them except us. We gave that one out here on Bettor's Last Stand. They go on the road and beat Nebraska. How about that one? But Nebraska returns to the public side of things pretty quickly. All right, let's get into the soccer, and then we'll talk plenty of college and pro football coming up here for you. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 102, coming to you on the Watchdog right now, getting you ready for some exciting high school football action this evening as we get ready to bring you John Marshall hosting Parkersburg South, Wheeling Park hosting Steubenville, and last but not least, Wheeling Central hosting Perry Academy. So all three of those coming your way on WatchdogNetwork.com this evening. And again, thanks to all of our wonderful sponsors from Duggars, who sponsors our Duggars Saucy Spread Challenge now into Week 5 with Jeff Doyle still holding the lead there. And, of course, Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club for sponsoring our entire day of Football Friday here on the Watchdog. All right, soccer time. Football, as you prefer, whatever you want to call it. I call it the beautiful game. Let's go to the English Premier League. We need a bounce back here. We were very, very good in the Premier League last 2 weeks ago, 7-1. Not so good this week, 1-5-1. Yikes, that's disturbing. But it's going to happen sometimes. Got to keep your head above water. Manchester United and Newcastle. This will be at Newcastle. Newcastle plus 370. United minus 170. I'm sorry, I'm saying United. Manchester City, that is, minus 170 on the road. City comes off of a 2-2 draw against Arsenal in a really, really tough, tight affair. City's won 4 of the last 5 in the series as expected. City's got a road game in Bratislava, which is in Slovakia, on, I think, Tuesday in the Champions League. So I don't think they're going to be too concerned about Bratislava, but I do think coming off of a game against Arsenal where it was a kind of a bloody affair, really tight, testy affair, I think that maybe Pep Guardiola, the manager, is thinking, let's just get in, get out. Let's just win this game nice and easy. Don't do anything crazy. Rest our boys for a really, really important game in the Champions League. And the Champions League is more important than ever before. And I'll talk more about what I've observed from Champions League football so far when we talk about Champions League coming up after the Premier League. But I think Manchester City takes it a little bit easy here. Newcastle had defended pretty well at home in recent years. So we're going to go under 3 in this game, City and United. That's a 7:30 kick on Saturday morning. Crystal Palace at Everton. Everton plus 165. Palace plus 150. 225 on the draw. Everton unbeaten their last 10 at home versus Palace, but they've really struggled to hold leads. They blew another one last week. They settled for a draw. This team just can't hold a lead. They're facing relegation. The pressure's already on them. We're only a couple weeks into the season, and they're already facing a lot of pressure. I think both teams score here. I think Everton does get a goal at home, but I think Palace will end up probably winning the game. So I'm going to take Crystal Palace minus plus 150 on the road, which is pretty good price for a team like Everton struggling so bad. So we're going to take Palace on the road at plus 150, and we're going to go with both teams to score in the game, which would be around minus 150, minus 160 if you choose to lay that. I don't like giving out things that are that low of a price, but anything less than $2 I'd still go for here. Fulham and Nottingham Forest. It'll be Nottingham Forest at home, plus 130. Fulham, plus 195 on the road. The draw, 225. Fulham scored in the last 3 meetings of these two teams, which is pretty interesting. Home team has won the last 3 here. So I think both teams are able to score goals here. So both teams to score makes a lot of sense to me. Nottingham Forest has been struggling at home a little bit early in this season, which is strange to me because they were very, very good at home last year. They scored a lot of goals at home. They already had a win on the road at Anfield, which is impossible, but they return home here. I'm going to take a shot that Forest gets it worked out. We're going to go with both teams to score at minus 140 and take Forest plus 130. Leicester and Arsenal. Arsenal coming off a tough one against Manchester City. They led in the game, ends up being a 2-2 draw. They, too, have their game midweek in the Champions League is a much bigger game than Manchester City. Manchester City is going to be minus like $20 against Bratislava. But Arsenal has a game at home in London against PSG, powerhouse from France. So I think they're going to have one eye on that match because the Champions League, really important, getting off to a good early start in the league more than ever before. So I think Arsenal is going to play this one very, very close to the vest here. They've won 5 in a row in the series. I don't expect Leicester City to put up much of a fight here, so I can't talk anybody off of Arsenal, but they're minus 590, so there's no chance in hell that I'm betting them. Leicester plus 1260 on the buyback, 570 on the draw. I'm going under the 3 or the 3.5, whatever you want to get it at to lock in your best price. I think this game is a business-like performance from Arsenal. They put the fortress wall up. They get a goal. They hold on. They win 1-0 or 2-0. Even exact score of that, I would play that too. So we'll go under in Arsenal and Leicester, with Arsenal's having one eye on PSG next week. Brighton and Hove Albion, they take on Chelsea in London. Chelsea minus 145, plus 320. Chelsea playing pretty good right now. They're figuring it out in the back as well. Chelsea will be home versus Ghent next Thursday in the Europa League. They've won 4 of the last 5 against Brighton. I don't have an official play on this game. Chelsea's been playing pretty well. Perhaps Jackson to score a goal. That might be worth a peek. He's been really playing well. Chelsea have done a nice job at the back, too. They're getting a little bit more organized and getting some of this young talent to mesh together so far. So pretty good start for them, but I don't really have a great feel on that game with the midweek game at Ghent as Chelsea returns to European football after a dismal 2 years ago when they didn't qualify. So next game, West Ham United and Brentford staying in London. It'll be Brentford plus 115, plus 205 on the Hammers, plus 245 on the draw. West Ham United winless in their last 3 overall. The home team has won the last 3 in this encounter. So I like Brentford. I know I've been back in Brentford quite a bit, but I like Brentford against most of the teams because they can score goals, and they do a good job defending at home. This is a London derby. These two teams, I wouldn't say have a bitter, ridiculous history, but I thought the bookings were a little bit low. A few weeks ago, we had Arsenal and Spurs, the bookings over, and that cashed with 10 minutes to go in the first half easily and ended up a cigar smoking over. 3.5 to me was a little bit low here for a London derby, so I'm going to go over 3.5 bookings here and take Brentford plus the 115. Liverpool at Wolves. Wolves plus 575 at home. Liverpool minus 280, 410 on the draw. Liverpool's won 4-5 in the series. 3 of the last 5 have stayed under here. I don't know about Wolves right now. I think they're winless in like 9 straight matches. They have not played well, so I'm passing on this game. Likely Liverpool wins it. Maybe play them on the Asian handicap, but I'm staying away from that one. Sunday's games, Aston Villa and Ipswich. I originally had a play on Aston Villa here. They're minus 120 on the road at Ipswich, plus 320 on Ipswich, 275 on the draw. But I looked into this a little bit more, and they have a big midweek game against Bayern Munich, who right now is the best team in the Champions League, at least form-wise. And Aston Villa, I don't know if they think they have a shot at that or not, but I'm going to pass on this because I think there's an outside shot that they rest some players here against Ipswich, the worst team in the league, and they think they can get away with it. What I do have a play on here, though, is the under. I think Villa will come in here looking to get a business-like win, similar to what Manchester City will do, and I like this under the 3 against Ipswich Town. I don't know what Villa's going to have on their minds. They've really not played great in Europe, but they're definitely going to be excited early on for their European campaign. So I expect Villa to just go in here, try to win this game 1-0, and move on to a huge game against Bayern Munich next week. I believe it's on Wednesday. Ipswich has lost 6 overall. Actually, they're just winless in 6 over. I think they've actually drawn the last 3 games. So maybe take a shot with Ipswich. I wouldn't talk anybody off of it or a draw. If you think that Villa's going to go through the motions with one eye on Bayern, maybe go with Ipswich or the draw. Spurs at Manchester United, 11:30 kick on Sunday. It'll be United plus 130, that is, at home, and Tottenham plus 180 on the road, 280 on the draw. The total 3 of the last 5 have went over in this. Tottenham playing in Europa today. The last 3 at United have went over the total in this series. And Manchester United also home in Europa today, and I believe they just drew. So a not-so-great performance by Manchester United today. Probably disappointing for their standards. I like over in this matchup. I think you could see some goals here. Tottenham seems to play a little bit of an up-tempo style, and I'm banking on both of these teams coming off a little bit tired from the weekend, maybe not getting back defensively into the shape that they need to be getting into. So we're going to go with goals in Spurs and United. And then a Monday kick, Monday Night Football from Bournemouth. It'll be Bournemouth minus 150. Plus 425 on Southampton, 310 on the draw. The away team 6-0 in the last 6. 2 of the last 5 have went over here. That means 3 of the last 5 have went under. I'm going against the grain here. We're going with Bournemouth. I am not a Southampton guy. I think they get relegated this year. We're going to go with Bournemouth at home to snap that 6-game home team losing streak in this series. They have not beaten Southampton at home since 2016. That has to stop. Bournemouth's the better team here. I think Bournemouth will score a couple of goals and win this match at -150. All right, let's shift over to the Champions League here as we roll on Bettor's Last Stand, show number 102. Champions League, to me, has been very different because the format has changed. If you're not familiar with Champions League soccer, it is the very best of the best in Europe. It's the UEFA Champions League, the very best teams from Europe all playing in this tournament. So you have the top league winners in England, in Spain, in France, in Germany, in the Netherlands, on and on and on. So you have all the very best teams in Europe. The top teams from those leagues advance into this pool. The lower, mid-tier, top 4, 3, they'll play off to get the other spots. But this is the best of the best. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Manchester City, Arsenal, on and on and on. The list goes. Just the best of the best. Borussia Dortmund. So you're having the very best teams in the world competing here. Literally the best club teams on earth. All are in Europe. So this is the best tournament in the world. Probably next to the European Championships. And then probably third would be the World Cup because you water it down a little bit when you bring all the teams from across the world in. But it's a different format. It used to be 4-team groups. You would have a group made of 4 teams. They played each other 2 times, a home and away leg. So that gave you 6 matches. Top 2 advanced. Well, they changed everything now, and now it's just a complete wide open pool play. Everybody's in there. So it is not a situation where you can rest people, where you can take matches off, where you get paired against 2 really bad teams and you know you're going to be through so you can concentrate on your domestic efforts and not maybe concentrate until the knockout round of the Champions League. That's all been thrown out now. Now you're competing against everybody. It's just open play. They're matched up playing. You could play the very best team the first game of the competition or the very worst. So it's basically random draw. Everybody's playing, and the top teams will advance. I believe it'll take the top 16, and it's a whole new thing. So what I've noticed that is doing is it is making teams start out a lot quicker. That knowing that there's urgency, they can't drop games because you're not competing against just 3 teams. Whereas you could kind of feel your way out. If you're Arsenal and you're playing against, Red Star Belgrade, you can say, well, we're going to Belgrade. That's a really tough place to play. If we can draw, we're good with that. And we're going to know that in the long run, we will outlast Belgrade because we just have better teams. Or if you're Bayer Leverkusen and you're going to Shakhtar Donetsk and you say the same thing, well, Shakhtar's pretty good at home. If we draw this match, we're still in a good spot. We can beat the other 3 games that we have at home. We'll win those games at home, and we'll amass 9 to 11 points if we get 3 wins at home. Then we take a draw or 2, we get 11. That's going to win us the group. Well, you can't do that now because now you're playing against everybody. You're going up against Barcelona. You're going up against Man City. You're going up against PSG. You're going up against AC Milan. They're all in the same table now. So you can't afford to fall behind early. So what this shows me so far is teams are desperate to score goals early. Goal differential could be huge here too. So teams trying to the very end, teams falling down 3-0 and still trying to scrap out a goal, pushing so hard to get at least one to mitigate the goal differential. You're going to see that. So right now, and I'm not going to wholeheartedly tell you to do this blindly, and the same principle could apply for Europa as well, which is the middle tier European league, meaning the top 4 in England go to the Champions League, the 5 and 6 teams go to Europa and on down the line. Maybe both teams to score is where you want to be here. You're seeing teams pressing as hard as they can to try to get points from these matches, to try to get goals. You're not going to see a whole lot of parking the bus here, at least early on, I don't think, because maybe from your lesser teams, but from your mid-range to good teams, you're going to see them push because they can't afford to drop a bad game on the road to a team that they probably could get away with it before because they'll have them back on their place and they'll end up winning it and they'll take the 3 points. But you got to get the points while you can. So I think you're going to see a lot of goals in these games. I think you're going to see both teams trying to score at all costs. So a couple games that stand out to me next week. We have a game coming your way on October the 1st, which is Tuesday. It'll be Sparta Prague and Stuttgart. So a pretty interesting match. Stuttgart at home. I'm going to go with both teams to score in this, and I'm going to go with Sparta Prague at plus 475. Sprinkle money line there, but I also recommend playing them on the Asian handicap. A draw, no bet, a plus a half goal. I think Sparta Prague, they're going to scratch for a good result here. They've been playing well. Stuttgart, very good at home, but I like Prague here. I think they hang in that game. I think they find a way to get a point because they need them for sure. Arsenal at home against Paris Saint-Germain. I talked about that earlier of how important these games are. This is a monstrous game for Arsenal. Huge game. Minus 135 money line for Arsenal. They have a pretty easy match in the Premier League this week that we just talked about, so I think they get the job done there. Low-scoring game, of course, is what we're thinking. But I think they're ready to go here. At minus 135, Arsenal's the better team. I think they win this game in London against PSG, so I'll take Arsenal there. AC Milan and Bayer Leverkusen, also another Tuesday game. I like both teams to score here. AC Milan did not go well for them in the first leg. They got beat 3-1 by Liverpool. So they come up with a very tough start to there. So AC Milan, a team that is really kind of desperate. They've already lost to Liverpool 3-1. Now they got to play Bayer Leverkusen, who ran the table last year in Europe. I mean, they just dominated. They played great. They ended up bowing out in the Champions League, but they had a great regular season campaign. AC Milan desperate here. So I like both teams to score pretty good there. I think you'll see at least one goal from each of those sides. Next Wednesday, October the 2nd, Atalanta at Shakhtar Donetsk. Again, this is a team that I just mentioned. Shakhtar, very good at home. And I don't think they're actually playing this. They might be playing this in Istanbul because of the ongoing war there in Ukraine. But nonetheless, Shakhtar will have a ton of people supporting them. I think both teams to score in that one is good. Atalanta, very, very good offensively and have played well on the road. Atletico Madrid at Benfica. I like both teams to score in that one as well. Atletico Madrid used to be a team that was like a fortress. It was like a 1-0 team every single time they played. Well, they're scoring a lot more goals now and playing a little bit more free. They give up a lot more than they used to as well. So we'll go with both teams to score there. And then Bayern Munich, you're getting them at a really cheap price on the road at Aston Villa. Aston Villa is not going to intimidate Bayern Munich in any capacity. Munich goes in there and rolls it. And if you want to lay a goal, I wouldn't talk you off that either on the Asian handicap or minus 0.75, where if you win by 2, you get the extra portion of the bet. I like Munich on the road there. Monaco playing really, really well. They'll go to Dynamo Zagreb in Croatia. Zagreb lost 9-2 to Bayern Munich. Now, will they come out a little bit more inspired after an embarrassing performance? Probably, but their form is very poor. So I think Monaco minus 145, very cheap price on them. Juventus and RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig pours a lot of money into their club. They're plus 120 at home. Juventus, it's going to take them a while to get going. I watched them last week. They didn't look they had a whole lot. They look a little old, a little bit tired early in the season. That's not a good sign. So I'll go with RB Leipzig. Maybe both teams to score in that one, but I like Leipzig plus the 120 at home. So those are our Champions League plays for this week. Let's flip over to Canadian football now as we keep it going here on Bettor's Last Stand. Show number 102 coming to you from the Watchdog studio in downtown Wheeling, getting you ready for the pregame of the Watchdog football high school football games this evening on the watchdognetwork.com. Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central, and John Marshall all in action. All right. Let's focus on a little Canadian football action. We were 2-1 last week with Canadian football. We needed it because it had been a struggle for the last couple of weeks. That is for sure. First game we got is Friday night. It's coming your way tonight as you listen to this broadcast. It will be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Minus 4.5. The total 49.5. They will be taking on the Edmonton Eskimos. Winnipeg 8-6. Edmonton 5-9. Winnipeg has won 6 in a row in the series. And actually 6 in a row overall, 7 in a row in the series to be exact. I like this game over the 49. I think they scored some points here. Can't talk you off Winnipeg if you want to lay the 4.5. Edmonton has played a lot better now, so I'm a little bit leery there, but Winnipeg probably can win this game by a touchdown or more. I think there will be points. Edmonton, like I say, they've improved quite a bit. I think they'll get 14 or so, and then you would think the Blue Bombers will get around 35, or so in the game and put the game over the 49.5. Another Friday night contest. It'll be the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the BC Lions. Hamilton 5-9, BC 7-7. BC -8 at home. The total 53.5. Hamilton has won 3 straight, and the road team in this series has won the last 3. So pretty interesting here. Also, back-to-back overs in this series. That's where I'm going to be going here. I like this game over. Both these teams have been scoring and surrendering points in bunches, and I think when they play each other in a pretty even game, I think this game may soar over the 53.5. And let's go to Saturday. Another pair of CFL games on Saturday. A 3 o'clock kick. It'll be the Ottawa Redblacks at the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Saskatchewan -2.5. The total 51.5. Saskatchewan 6-7-1. Ottawa 8-5-1 on the season. Saskatchewan ended a 7-game winless streak last week with a win over Calgary. So little momentum for them coming in for the Rough Riders. And the home team has won 6 of the last 7 in this series. Last time they played, 22-22 tie. I'm going with Saskatchewan. I think they get a little momentum there. They're right around 500. Ottawa teetering on the brink of kind of just faltering. I think at this point in the season, they kind of look like they've hit the wall. So we're going to go with Saskatchewan -2.5 at home. And then the final game, 7 o'clock kick Saturday, and that'll be the Montreal Alouettes, 11-2-1 on the season, at the Toronto Argonauts, 7-7. It'll be at Montreal -2 on the road. The total 51.5. The road team has won 4 out of the last 5 in this series. We will be going with the road team, Montreal -2. It's a little less. It's not enough points to make me worry. 2 points on the road. Montreal, the better team. If you want to play the money line, go ahead. Montreal wins it. And I like this game under, too. I think Montreal defense will travel a little bit here. I think they hold Toronto down. Toronto has not been very good on offense. So we'll go under the 51.5. And the Alouettes -2 on Saturday night in the Canadian Football League. All right. Jump into now. Where are we going next? Oh, we're going to Australia. We're going down under. It's the Australian Rules Football Grand Final. Very, very sad for me, as this is the last game of the season for the AFL. I think the ladies' final might be next week, so at least I have that to watch. But it's been a great, great year of AFL football, and I'm super sad to see it go. That's one thing I'll be looking forward to for spring to come, is to get that started back up again. We have a live ticket on the Brisbane Lions at 7-1 right now. We cashed them to make the final at +320. The grand final will be Friday night, 12:30 a.m., Saturday morning, 12:30, whatever. You go out on Friday to Generations or wherever you're going to suck them down, and you're coming home at midnight. The game's going to be on shortly after that. So pop it on. Sydney -3.5. The total 172.5. The Lions have won the last 4 in this series. And just to tell you a little bit about this match, this is the final. This is the Super Bowl of the AFL. It's in Melbourne. Melbourne is probably 18 hours away from Brisbane. Brisbane, let's see, Brisbane would be to the north. And then you have Sydney, which is probably about exactly halfway between Melbourne, where the game is, and Brisbane, which is about 9 or 10 hours probably. So a little bit of a crowd advantage to Sydney, but nonetheless, very long travel for both of these teams. I don't think that's going to be an issue, though. This is the finals. This is the Super Bowl. They're going to come ready. So, again, we have a future ticket on the Lions at 7-1. Would it make sense for us to play the Swans to win by the 1-39 range or something like that at a plus price? Perhaps. But I have a pretty good feeling about Brisbane. As I talked about last week, they won an incredible game 2 weeks ago against GWS. And then they won another great game against Geelong. And really just a well-played game. It looked like Geelong was going to pull it out, but Brisbane with 2 late goals to win it, and the place was just going crazy. Their fans that traveled well there, which is a great, great game. They seem to me like a team of destiny right now. They are playing really well. Sydney, yeah, they beat the hell out of Port Adelaide, but Port Adelaide had a lot of problems. They had a lot of guys hurt, and it just, you could tell early on they were up against it, and the Sydney was looking fresh, but I don't know. Brisbane, to me, has the better roster by far. They're not too beat up. They have played a couple tougher games, though, so that that might work against them a little bit. But I think Brisbane's the right side here. So I'm. People ask me, do you hedge? Are you sure you want to hedge? Well, if it's life-changing money, I think you should hedge, but that's not the case here. So I stick with your guns. If you really like a team, I'm all about locking in profit. I think people that tell you not to hedge are wrong, because you have to understand every person's going to be different. Some people, if you can win $20,000, you should hedge, because that's a monstrous amount of money. But to some other people, that's not that much money. So it depends on you. And I always think hedging is good if you have a good plan. I'm not telling you to burn your value on the ticket or anything like that. In this case, I'm going to continue to ride Brisbane. I think they're the better team here. They won 79-77 in round 19. They've won 4 straight in the series, as I said. The last 2 in the series have stayed under, so we're going to play this game under the 172.5. It's the final. It's going to be testy. Although I will say that Brisbane has a way to just explode out of nowhere and just put goals up so quickly. Hugh McCluggage, we used him last week. He scored. He cashed a nice plus price tickets for us. He's plus 130 to score in this match. He's 9-1 to score 2 times in this match. 9-1. He's 50-1 to score 3 times or more. Now, the reason that I bring this up is Hugh McCluggage, a midfield player for the Brisbane Lions. He's not a guy that's going to get a ton of opportunities, but he kicked 3 against his team in round 19, and going back to the meeting prior to that, he had a goal. So I think playing him to score at plus 130 is a no-brainer. He's going to get opportunities. He's an energy guy. He raises his game when the stakes are highest, and he did that last week. So I think 3 great bets there. The plus 130 on McCluggage to score once for the Brisbane Lions, twice at 9-1, 50-1 for 3. Now, will we get 3? Probably not, but 2 is very possible. That's 9-1. For a guy that's very, very prominent in their attack. Yes, he's not a guy that's a forward that's going to be getting the marks downfield where he's going to get easy catch and chances at goals, but he plays in the tempo, and when he gets going, there's a very good chance that he could catch a mark in a good position and have a shot at a goal. Joe Danaher did not score last week, and I don't know if you don't follow this, you don't know how rare it is that Danaher doesn't get on the score sheet in any capacity. Geelong did a really good job against him, shutting him down last week. But for him to score 2 times is minus 155. I think he gets back on it, so we're going to take Danaher to score twice in this match. If he scores 3 times, it's plus 190. He had 3 against them in the first meeting in round 19, which was not all that long ago. So Danaher, to me, makes a lot of sense here to score for the Lions. And then Kai Lohman, who scored a goal last week. I like him to score. Scoring twice for him is plus $2. You can get him to score once at like minus 140. So Kai Lohman. And then Eric Hipwood. He's a guy that plays a lot in the ruck for the Lions. So he doesn't get a ton of chances, but he's always grinding it out, and he will have opportunities from time to time. And if the attention is being given to Danaher and Lohman and guys that are more forwardly placed, Hipwood could be a guy that would have a shot. He had 2 against them in a prior meeting, and to score twice in this game, he is plus 190. So we're going to take a shot with Hipwood. I recommend Eric Hipwood, Kai Lohman, Joe Danaher, and Hugh McCluggage all to score goals in this game. And as I said, McCluggage, a monster price to score twice or 3 times, and he's done it before against these very same Sydney Swans. On the Sydney side of things, if you're interested in the Swans, Will Hayward, plus 160 to score twice. He's a really important part of their attack. I think he could be a guy that they center on here. But Brisbane will do their best to take him out of the game. And then Errol Golden, and that's Errol and Golden, as in Gulden. Errol Golden to score twice, plus 290. He's minus 140 to score once. He's an energy guy. He's a guy that really will raise his game when the stakes are the highest. So Errol Golden and Will Hayward for Sydney. Eric Hipwood, Kai Lohman, Joe Danaher, Hugh McCluggage for the Brisbane Lions. Should be a great game. I look forward to it. I'm going to play Brisbane to win by between 1 and 39 points. I think that's a good one at a plus 130, and we're going to play under the 172.5 and hopefully catch that 7-1 future ticket on the Brisbane Lions as the AFL Grand Final comes to a conclusion on Friday night. All right, let's get it going now into the American football portion of the program. We'll start in the pros, and we'll go right to, we're not going to talk about Thursday's game because that already happened. But we're going to go to the Saints and the Falcons. It'll be the Falcons minus 1.5, the total 42.5. This game opened 46.5 on the total, down to 42.5. I was one of the people that was on this under very early. The public on the New Orleans Saints early. I think the under makes a lot of sense here. Saints, like I said earlier, or the Falcons, that is, I think they're 3-0 to the under this season. So you got to take a peek there and remember that, Atlanta has played a very controlled offense. And with Cousins, that happens a lot. You get these grinding drives because he's very good moving it between the 20s. I like the under here still. I would still go with the under at 42.5. I think it's still playable at 42.5. It was 46.5, as I said, that I bet on Monday morning. But I think at 46.5, you'd be getting a really good number. 42.5 to me still is very good. I lean Falcons in the game too, but no official play there. Jacksonville Jaguars, horrendous start. They're at the Houston Texans, a rivalry game, so to speak. Texans off a tough loss as well. Texans -7, the total 45. It's open. Houston -4.5, up to 7. Public on Houston. People think Jacksonville stinks, and just when you start to think that, they surprise you. I lean Jacksonville in this game plus the 7, but I can't recommend anything else. A lot of times these division games stay under, but I'm a little bit worried about Jacksonville. Can they rebound here? But I'm going to take a outside shot with them that they can catch in the touchdown. Cincinnati, our Bengals on the road at the Carolina Panthers. Cincinnati open -7, down to 4.5 now. At least there's some professional people out there that are like me that are realizing this team isn't very good. Public back on the Bengals again. They want to burn them. They want to burn them for the third or fourth week in a row, depending on how you had them. Bengals -4.5, total 48. I'm on the Panthers here. Andy Dalton has inspired the team. I think this will be a very tough game for Cincinnati, and I look for them to drop to 0-4. I think they lose the game outright. Sprinkle some money line with the Panthers and take the 4.5. It may go back up a little bit, too, with the public money on the Bengals. Minnesota at Green Bay, big division battle here. Will Jordan Love play? The -2.5 that Green Bay is right now tells me that he will. This game open Minnesota -2.5. Total 43.5. I'll be going with the under in this game. And I'm curious about this. I think Green Bay probably is the right side. Minnesota's played great. They've impressed me a bunch, and I was wrong about them. I thought they were just going to be in a rebuild. I didn't think they'd be terrible, but I didn't expect them to play this well on defense. They've been very impressive. Sam Darnold's been impressive. They're a team to keep an eye on. There's no shame if they lose at Green Bay. They still had a great start to their season, but I'll go under the 43. The Rams at the Bears. Rams, huge comeback win last week when everybody thought they were done. We had them here on Bettor's Last Stand. Chicago -3. The total 41. I'll be going with the Rams here. We had the Bears as well. Bears finally getting the win column, but wasn't very pretty. And the Rams, to me, they're getting a little bit healthier. Matt Stafford, a battler. I'll take the points. I don't think Chicago should be laying points here. We'll take the field goal, maybe 3.5 with the Rams. Pittsburgh at Indianapolis. It'll be the Steelers -2 on the road. Public money all over them right now. 40, the total. We'll be going under again. Steelers are going to live in the backfield of the Colts here. Anthony Richardson is going to turn the ball over in this game. I would say a minimum of one time. But the Steelers, I don't think they're going to do a whole lot in this game either. So this is a game, again, this is like the Denver game, which they could have easily lost because they produced no offense. This is a game that they could lose. I would lean Colts in this game, to be honest with you. The Steelers cannot continue to play this poorly on offense and win games. Something's going to bounce the other team's way at some point. This is the NFL. So I'm going to lean Indy. I'm not going to make an official play on that yet. I want to read a few more things. But I'm going under. That is an official play. We'll take under here. I think this game is a 17-13 at best type game. Both these teams will struggle on offense. Philadelphia at Tampa. Both teams off ugly performances. One a winner, one a loser. Philly -2.5 on the road. The total 45. I'll be back on the Bucks here slightly. I think the Bucks bounced back. I think it was a bad matchup for them last week. Todd Bowles owned by Sean Payton. One of the few people that Sean Payton owns other than freaking Oxy Code owns. Philadelphia at Tampa, as I said, Philly 2.5, total 45. We'll go under the 45, and we're going to lean with the Bucks to get it back on track at home. Denver at the New York Jets. The Jets -7.5, total 38.5. I want to play the Jets here, but I can't lay 7.5 yet. I'm going to see what that number does. Denver, that was just a let's see, what can we call it? An anomaly, a statistical anomaly. Again, they say Todd Bowles has a hard time against Sean Payton, so he did, and Denver will return to form this week. I think Denver probably scores less than 17 in this game. Actually, they definitely score less than 17. I think Bo Nix probably throws a pick six or fumbles, so maybe a shot with the Jets defense to score there as well. Washington at Arizona. Arizona -3.5, total 50.5. I like the under a lot in this game. I think this slows down a little bit. Both these teams can run the ball. Jaden Daniels was awesome on Monday Night Football, so that worries me a tad for Washington. I think they take a small step backwards. I still like both of these teams in the long term. I'll lean Arizona, but I'm not laying 3.5. If it goes under 3, I'll take the Cardinals, and I really like the under 50.5 there. New England at San Francisco. San Francisco, a mess right now. San Francisco -10, total 39.5. New England really struggles to score points. That's okay. I like the under in this game, and I like the Patriots plus the 10. I think it's a low-scoring game. The Patriots hang around against a handicapped 49er team. Cleveland at the Raiders. The Raiders -1, the total 37. Both these teams not off of a very good performance last week. The Browns humiliated. The Raiders humiliated. The coach of the Raiders, Antonio Pierce, furious at his team. Kevin Stefanski's just an apologist for all his players. He just defends them to no end. He's not going to criticize them. So I don't know what's going to happen in this game. I really don't. But I do like the under in the game. Deshaun Watson's really struggled. The Browns are beat up on the offensive line. I don't really think there's going to be a lot of points here. The Raiders, I don't know who's going to play quarterback. They took Minshew out for O'Connell. I don't know. There's a lot of questions for these two teams. Both these teams need this game badly, so I think they both play it tight. We'll go under the 37, and if you're interested in more Cleveland Browns talk, check us out on the Watchdog Network every single Tuesday for the 1 o'clock hour spot. We have Kelsey Russo from the Cleveland Browns. She is the staff reporter for the Browns. She joins us in the 1 o'clock hour each and every Tuesday. So check that out. If you missed it with Kelsey, visit pineroomstudios.com to listen to last week's segment with her. Kansas City at the LA Chargers, now up to 8.5 the Chiefs are. Obviously, that means Justin Herbert will not play in this game. 39 is the total. Obviously, check that, though, because if you see the number going back the other way, it means he may. I don't know how you lay it with the Chiefs, but man, the Chargers are really, really bad against the Steelers without him. So, to me, laying less than 10 in this game is doable. You don't ever like to do that because you don't know how it's going to transpire. But without Herbert, Chargers could be in trouble. But Jim Harbaugh, very good coach, maybe hangs around in the game and covers. Buffalo at the Ravens. Ravens -2.5, total 46.5. Bills played awesome last week. Ravens played good for a half. That worries me a tad. I do like the Ravens in this game, though, for one key reason. Buffalo's not going to run the ball on the Ravens. The Ravens have the best run defense in the league. They've had it for the last couple of years. They're going to make the passing game of the Bills beat them. And while I think Josh Allen is incredibly good, the Ravens are pretty good at covering tight ends. They are pretty good at getting to the quarterback. So Josh Allen, to me, is going to be very frustrated in this game. I'm not saying he can't make plays because the guy's really good. So maybe over if you like it for a more up-tempo type game. And then on the other side of the ball, I think they got Derrick Henry going pretty well last week. Jacksonville abandoned the run game immediately on Monday night when they were really struggling to stop anybody on defense. So they had to get in kind of a shootout mentality. I think Baltimore's more equipped to do that. I don't love the way the Ravens have played, and you know I've been down on them since the beginning of the season. I don't think they're anywhere near as good as they were last year. But I'm leaning Ravens here. I think if you take less than a field goal, I think they get the job done. I don't know if the Bills can keep winning. The Bills are very good, though. They're going to be right there in the AFC playoffs. And if I had to re-pick who I like in the AFC, it would be definitely Bills and Chiefs now versus the original pick that I had of Chiefs and Jaguars, which is going nowhere fast. So we did have the Bills to win their division, though. We thought they'd be the best team in the East, and I still think they will, and they will win that easily. So we're going to take a little shot with the Ravens, maybe a little lean to the over. Monday Night Football, doubleheader again. It's actually really not really a doubleheader. It's just two games, 7:30 and 8:15. Little staggered start. Tennessee at Miami. That's a pick right now. The total 37 comes down from the opener of 39.5. Don't really have a play here. I'd lean Tennessee just slightly. At some point, they're going to have to take Will Levis out of the game. Tennessee could be 3-0 if you believe that. It could be 3-0. Levis has just been so bad, and then the two block punts the first 2 weeks of the season. It's just not going to work. Miami right now a mess. I just don't have any faith. McDaniel's losing his mind down there. I think that things are spiraling out of control. I like the Titans, maybe the under in the game too. Seattle at Detroit. Great game here. Detroit -3.5, total 47. Detroit's been a little bit off, though, lately. They're kind of seeing what it's like to be the hunted instead of the hunter. I like this game under the 47. I think it's a close game. I think both teams run the ball. Lean Seattle, taking the 3.5. I'll take that. I think the Lions can maybe win this game by a field goal, but Seattle's very good defensively. McDonald doing a great job since coming over from Baltimore. Geno Smith doesn't turn the ball over. The Seahawks have a shot of being really, really good this year, and we called that one way back too. Gave them out to potentially win that division in the NFC West. So we're going with Seahawks and under on Monday Night Football. All right, continuing on here on the 102nd episode of Bettor's Last Stand, coming to you From the Watchdog Studios, downtown Wheeling, Matt here with you as we get ready to take you up to the pregame show of high school football on the Watchdog coming your way tonight. It'll be Wheeling Park on WVLY. They will host Steubenville Big Red in a huge game over at Wheeling Island Stadium. Then it'll be Central on WKKX in both of those games, watchdognetwork.com, of course. Central hosts Perry Academy in a game that Central probably should win relatively easily. And then John Marshall with a nice performance last week. Weren't able to get the job done on the road, just narrowly beaten by Washington, but they return home this week to Monarch Stadium to take on Parkersburg South in what should be a good one. That one on watchdognetwork.com. You can hear Ross, you can hear Coach Treveri, you can hear Coach Heinerman on the call for that one. Of course, Coach Dell along with Luke Doyle and Nick Tesaurus will be on the Wheeling Park game, and Brian Soup Campbell in action. I believe Luke Cooper will be on the color with him once again, in either Tyler Cooley or Jarrett Dell on the sidelines for that one over at Bishop Schmidt Field. All right, Friday night games. We got another one. We got two of them actually here. We were 2-0 last week on the Friday games. We had Stanford plus the points, an outright winner, and we had Illinois on the road. Both those teams on the road catching 8 points, I believe. Both outright winners. So those were two good ones. Hopefully you were on those with us on Friday night. We'll start it off with my Miami Hurricanes, minus 19.5, total 54.5 as they host Virginia Tech. Public money on Miami. That worries me quite a bit. Miami opened 16.5 up to 19.5. They've been taking care of business. They've been looking really good. Things are coming together for them, but calm down. They've not played anybody even close to being a playoff team yet. So proceed with caution here. Virginia Tech burned us in week one. They're a miserable team to watch. I can't stand them. I think Miami will win this game. I do. It's at home. Not that they have a great home field by any means, but I think Miami wins this game. Miami's got a big game next week heading out to California, and a game that I've been circled on my calendar for a while is a game that worries me quite a bit. I don't think Miami's overlooking this game at all. Virginia Tech is somewhat of a rival, and I think Miami plays this one, gets out of town, gets out of their home field exactly with a win. I'm going under 54.5 in this game. I think this is a close, kind of a nip and tuck type game, but Miami pulls away late, wins it by a couple touchdowns at least, and like the game under 54.5. Washington at Rutgers. This is an interesting game to me. Been on Rutgers quite a bit recently. Rutgers minus 2.5 at home, the total 45.5. If I was going to do anything in this game, it would be the under. I think Rutgers is very well coached by Schiano. They have a tendency to keep the games low scoring. They kept the game under last week and won the game outright as a dog, so we were happy with that one. But I'm still a little worried about them here against Washington. Washington's a pretty good program. They're coming east. That could be tricky. It's so weird. It's a conference game. I mean, that's about as far as you can travel. But I'm going to go under the 45.5. So unders on both games on Friday evening. Big one at noon on Saturday. The Oklahoma State Cowboys at the Kansas State Wildcats. Both these teams guilty of not so good of a week last week. Kansas State, it was a definite overlook situation, which we were on the right side of that one as we gave you BYU. They were a cigar-smoking winner on the nightcap on Saturday. An easy wire-to-wire win over Kansas State, who we said would be looking ahead to this game against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, was occupied with Utah, and they battled, but they just weren't good enough. And we gave out Utah as our best bet of the year, their win total over. That was our Bettor's Last Stand best bet of the year, the Utah Utes over their win total. And I feel really good about that. They go in there to Stillwater and win the game, control the game the entire game pretty much. They could have done a little better on offense and pulled away, but Utah, much the best. They're the best team in that league without question. But you got the second and the third best teams here in action at noon on Saturday. That's tomorrow, of course. Kansas State minus 5. Total 55.5. 53 was the opener. Actually, 52 was the opener. It's up to 55.5, so you're seeing some money on the over. Sharps on the over. I like Oklahoma State in this game. I think they bounce back. Gundy, to me, I trust him. I think he gets his guys refocused and makes them realize, okay, forget about that game. We now have another big game. We're on the road. Pressure's off a little bit. We don't have the home crowd. I think they go in there. They take care of business in Manhattan. Not an easy place to play by any means, but we'll go with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I think they're ready to go. I'll take that 5 any day. Maybe a little money line action with the Cowboys. Northern Illinois at the NC State Wolfpack. NC State minus 6, a total 47. Now, I know NC State's the bigger school name here. And people were all over NC State and North Carolina about being how great they were going to be this year in the ACC. Both those teams are terrible. If you watch the games, you'll realize how bad they stink. How NC State is giving more than a field goal here. A field goal I can understand because they're at home. But Northern Illinois went into Notre Dame and beat them. Northern Illinois is the best team in the MAC. Northern Illinois has another Power 5 conference now team bringing them in to their place to conceivably beat them. Northern Illinois will respond in this game, and I will take the Huskies plus the 6. They will be ready to go here. I think they win this game outright at plus 210 on the money line, and NC State is just not very good, and I think Northern Illinois pounds them pretty good. Maryland at Indiana. Indiana minus 7, a total 53.5, down from the opener of 55.5. Indiana, another team we've been hot on all season long. Probably leaning Indiana here, but I'm not going to give an official play on this game. Maryland just pesky enough that if they caught 7, its game could be a field goal type game, so we'll pass on that one. Western Kentucky at Boston College. Boston College now up to a 13.5 point favorite, up from the opener of 11. Sharp money coming in on the under. Western Kentucky comes into the game 3-0. I like Western Kentucky here. They've played some pretty good teams so far this year and have hung around in the games. Actually, they've won them all, so they definitely more than hung around. They've played well. They scored points, so I can see why maybe some people would be on the over in the game, but I'm not sure why the Sharps are on the under. But I like Western Kentucky. I don't think that Boston College by any means is a bad team, but laying 2 touchdowns, almost like 13.5 right now. I'll take that with Western Kentucky. They may have a shot of winning that game as well. Nebraska at Purdue. Nebraska minus 10, a total 47. I think Nebraska gets back on track, although the public on Nebraska worries me a tad. Purdue, maybe one of the worst Power 5 teams there is right now. They get destroyed by Notre Dame. I like Nebraska and Matt Rule to bounce back and roll the Boilermakers on the road. Kentucky at Ole Miss. This one was a tricky one. Ole Miss minus 17.5, the total 53. I'd lean to the over in this game, but, man, I don't really have a strong play. Ole Miss, the better team. Kentucky played Georgia tough. That was an anomaly to me. It's going to be tough to keep matching that intensity as you play a tough SEC schedule. So I lean Rebels, and I lean to the over, but no official play there. South Florida at Tulane. Tulane minus 6, total 64.5. Sharp money coming in on the under in that one, but I have no play. Navy, been a very impressive start to their season. They look like they have a newfound offense, and they are scoring points. They actually can pass the ball a little bit right now. Midshipman minus 3.5 on the road. That's up from pick. That opened a pick. Now Navy, a road favorite again after a really good win last week. Navy minus 165 on the money line, 56.5 the total. Public on Navy, though, that worries me. Over taking some money as well. I'm going to pass on Navy this week, but I do like the midshipmen going forward. BYU at Baylor. BYU off a big win. Baylor off a devastating loss. I don't know what gives here. Baylor minus 3.5, total 45.5. BYU's a much better team here. BYU, to me, are going to be a little bit more serious. They have a lot of guys who are older because the Mormon missions. They're not probably going to be celebrating that win as much as some other teams would be. So I think BYU goes in here and probably wins this game outright. So we'll go with the Cougs on the road at Baylor. Minnesota at Michigan, the big house. Michigan minus 9, 36.5 the total there. Look at that total, 36.5. I lean Michigan, but I can't lay 9. Public on Michigan too. Michigan played solid against USC last week and got the victory, but I don't know about their offense. They're a little challenged. Texas State, Sam Houston, 56.5 the total on that one. Sharp money on the over. Wisconsin, no play for me on that one. Wisconsin at USC. USC returns home from their loss at the Big House. They're minus 16 now. That opened 13.5. I'd lean SC here, but I can't lay that many points. Wisconsin, again, they're disappointing me. We were actually on them this year. We were against them last year, but they don't look very good at all. No play officially in Wisconsin, USC. Oklahoma at Auburn. Auburn catching 2 at home. Lots of turmoil around Hugh Freeze in the Auburn program. The Sooners, they were bad last week too. They're a 2-point favorite. 45.5 is the number on the total. I lean Oklahoma here. I think they're slightly better. Auburn in some turmoil. Sharp money on the over here. Public on Oklahoma. Lean Sooners. Not sure that that's a great play though. Arkansas at Texas A&M. Both these teams with big games next week. Look ahead spots. Arkansas off a nice win. A&M, just don't like anything about them. They're minus 3.5 at home. The total 52.5. A&M has Missouri next week. Arkansas has Tennessee next week. This will be a pass for me, possibly an underplay, as both teams to me seem like they will be happy to trade blows, try to score in the fourth quarter and win it, and then move on to their giant game next week. Louisville at Notre Dame. I really, really, really like Louisville in this game. They're catching 6. The total 45.5. I've watched both these teams play. It's not even close that Louisville's the better team. Will they win? That doesn't always mean they'll win. No. But I like Louisville on the money line. I like Louisville catching around 6 or 7 possibly. Notre Dame is just not that good. And, it's nothing against them. They're just not that good. You just watch the games, you'll see what I mean. Colorado at the UCF Knights. Deion Sanders on the road. His team now catching 14. This opened 11. UCF up to 14 here. Public money on Colorado. The pros are on UCF. The sharp are also on the under in this contest. UCF seems like the right side here. I don't like laying 14 with Gus Malzahn, but he has an ego like Deion Sanders, so he may try to cover the spread at all costs. But that would be one I'll just watch and kind of just smirk about and laugh as I see both of those egomaniacs going at each other. Fresno State at UNLV. This UNLV team is 3-0. They were laying 3 in this game. It's down to pick now, but I don't know. It looks like they got a pretty good backup quarterback. I think maybe UNLV's got some value here against Fresno. The total 52. The quarterback, as we said, NIL dispute. He will not be coming back to the team after he was sure to get $100,000 in NIL money, and then they reneged on it. Not pretty there. So we'll see what actually information comes out on that. Who's in the right, who's in the wrong. As we move along, UMass at Miami, Ohio, a 3:30 kick. Miami, Ohio, minus 18, a total 47. I like the Minutemen here. I think Miami, Ohio, off a valiant effort last week. I think UMass comes in. They've been getting a little bit better each and every week, so we'll go with them. TCU at Kansas. Kansas minus 2, the total 59. Kansas, devastating loss last week in Morgantown. I don't know. I'm a little worried about this Kansas team. They did not impress me at all last week, and WVU doesn't impress me much either. Very even game. If they played each other 10 times, it'd be 5-5. I'm going to take a shot with the under here. Not a strong play, but I kind of like the under. North Carolina and Duke. Duke actually surprising people that we might be in trouble with our win total with Duke. They laid 2 against Carolina, who's coming off a humiliating defeat, and they couldn't stop anybody, but no official play for me. Texas minus 38.5. The total 62.5 against Mississippi State. Texas is off, and then they have a huge game. I believe. This is Georgia, maybe? I think it's Georgia. But Texas very good. They can kind of name the score here. Mississippi State, horrendous. We took a shot with them last week. And although their offense performed admirably, their defense couldn't stop anybody as they lost to Florida. Old Dominion in Bowling Green. Bowling Green minus 9.5. The total 49.5. Sharp money on Old Dominion. I will be passing on that game. Stanford at Clemson. Clemson minus 22. The total 57.5. Clemson has Florida State on deck. I'm not sure if that even matters anymore. But I like Stanford in this game. They're well coached. Very undervalued. Nice win last week. I think Stanford is a team that is going to be, they're going to be scrappy here in the ACC. I know it's so weird to say that they're in the ACC. I'll take them plus 3 touchdowns against Clemson on the road. Iowa State at Houston. Iowa State minus 13 on the road. The total 43. The public all over Iowa State as they regard Houston as one of the worst teams in college football. I'd beware a little bit of that. If you're going to do anything in this game, I'd lean to the over. Sharp money coming in on the over 43 in that one. Moving down the card to one of the games, the first game of the year for the Ohio State Buckeyes against anybody, even half of a real opponent. Ohio State minus 23.5, the total 48.5. Still think they lay it on Michigan State pretty good here. Not really sure about the total. I'd probably lean to the over the 48.5 there, but no real play on that one. I think the Buckeyes roll the Spartans in an easy way. Georgia and Alabama, game of the year, perhaps one of the games of the year, to be Georgia minus 2 on the road, the total 48.5. As we said earlier, Alabama hasn't been a home dog since let's see, what was the year? 2007. Oh my, will they go off as a home dog? I don't know. I really like the over in this game. I think Carson Beck played a pretty poor game against Kentucky. Kentucky had scouted it pretty well. Thought he missed on some opportunities. Georgia still trying to find their identity on offense, but I think they can. I love Jalen Milroe for Alabama. To me, he is a clear-cut Heisman favorite. Big game for Bama. I think they have a good shot of winning this game, but I would not discredit Georgia. Everybody's on Alabama here early on from what I hear. Everybody picking them to win this game outright. I'm not so sure about that, but I do know that there's going to be points in this game, and I like over 48.5. Illinois at Penn State. Penn State minus 18, a total 47.5. Illinois off a big win at Nebraska last week. Well, they're going to be in trouble this week because I think Penn State puts it on them. Bielema and the boys celebrated a little bit too hardy the other night, and I think he probably drank into the wee hours of the morning on Saturday. Probably had himself a side of beef as well. Penn State wins this game easily by 3 touchdowns. I like the Nittany Lions to roll it up on the Illini after their big win. Florida State at SMU. SMU minus 5.5. The total 47.5. I'll be going with the Mustangs here. We were against Florida State last week, and honestly, if California's offensive line could have protected a tad bit better, they would have win. They were going to win that game at Doak Campbell Stadium, and Florida State was going to be 0-4. Florida State is really, really bad, and SMU's got a good offense, so I think SMU wins this game handily, probably by double digits. Look for the Mustangs to roll the Seminoles out in Dallas on Saturday night. That's on ACC Network. Cincinnati at Texas Tech. It'll be Texas Tech minus 3 to total 58.5. When wearing out the well with the Bearcats here, I lean Bearcats, but don't love this play. They're one of our win total bets, so we continue to like the matchups that they're in, but maybe take Cincinnati plus the field goal. Not sure they can win the game. They've had some little up and down so far this season for the Bearcats, but not bad. New Mexico at New Mexico State. New Mexico minus 6.5 to open. It's up to 9 now. Taking some money there. Lobos and Aggies, no real play there. I'd probably lean the under if I had to do anything in that game. That's an 8 o'clock kick. Air Force at Wyoming, another late kick. It is the Wyoming Cowboys catching 4 at home. The total 36. Actually, all the way down to 34. Perhaps some weather in the forecast there. Maybe some wind. 37 at open, down to 36, down to 34. Sharp money, though, coming back in on the over. So maybe this was one of those head fake games. I don't know. Maybe people saw that number move and decided to just take a shot and jump on the low number. So whatever, we'll check that one out, and I'll post a play at BLS_PRP if there's anything worth passing on in that one. Arizona at Utah. Utah minus 12. The total 50.5. Sharp money on Arizona with Utah coming off a huge win on the road in Stillwater. 51.5 down to 48.5. I can see why that is the case. Utah very stout on defense. The offense still a little off with Rising injured and not playing. I don't know if he'll be back here or if he'll play, if he'll even dress. I lean under. Don't have a great view on this game, but I understand why people are on Arizona here. I think this could be a dangerous spot for Utah. I think they get the win, but probably don't cover the 12. Oregon at UCLA. Oregon minus 24, total 55.5. Can the Ducks have a signature win here before they get ready to entertain Ohio State in a couple weeks? I don't know about that. I don't love UCLA by any means, but I think they can possibly hang in and catch 24 and probably keep it within 20 in this game. So small lean to UCLA at home out in Los Angeles for that one. That concludes the college card for this week. College football week number 5 already. That's hard to believe. That's going to do it for us, too, on the 102nd episode of Bettor's Last Stand, coming to you from the Watchdog Studios as we get ready to take you into high school football action. The pregame show follows us here in a moment, shortly after 6 o'clock. Myself, Jub, and Chris holding it down as Jeff is out celebrating a wedding of our very own Rocky Fitzsimmons. So congratulations to Rocky. Thanks to him and his sister Kayleen for everything they've done for us here at the Watchdog Network. Rocky getting married up in New York, I believe, and the Doyles will be in attendance. So I hope everybody has a safe and wonderful weekend up there. Best of all to them. Just wish them a very happy life and just a really, really fun weekend with family and friends up in New York. So that's why Jeff won't be joining us, and that's a very good reason. But we'll hold it down here tonight on the pregame show. Again, me, Chris, and Jub. And we'll be in the studio as well for the Semper Fi Paving halftime show as we bring you Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central, and John Marshall on the WatchdogNetwork.com tonight. Again, thanks to Gumby's and Jill's Gentlemen's Club for sponsoring Football Fridays all day long here on the Watchdog. Don't go anywhere, though. We still got tons of excitement coming up here on the Watchdog Network. And thanks to the Brownie House for their continued sponsorship of the Pine Room and the Watchdog. Visit yesbrownies.com today. Use the promo code Pine Room for 20% off your order, and you will not be sorry if you get Brownie House brownies into your home this fall. That is for sure. That's going to do it for us. Have a wonderful weekend. Best of luck in your wagering. Follow us on BLS_PRP. Visit PineRoomStudios.com for the latest on Bettor's Last Stand and all the shows under the Pine Room umbrella. That's going to do it. We will see you back here for the pregame show in a couple of minutes, and we'll be back with you on Bettor's Last